So how do you set the frame for these agreements? It's more relationship genesis stuff. How you set the frame is, first of all, you just, by the way, guys, if you're on a first date, you should have your attention on her fully. You should be in inquiry around her. And if you start spouting off and like listing your CV, sorry, that's the sound of a pussy drying up. So, they don't really care about, here's what you need to do to be successful with a woman. Be up to something larger than yourself. Fuck is my Adam's apple gone? Be up to something larger than yourself. Have your attention on her and be curious. Those are the other two. Those last two might seem like they're the same thing, but they're not. You actually want to have your visual and auditory attention on her. And be listening, which doesn't mean waiting for her to stop talking so you can say something. They don't really care about so many things that guys think they care about. If you put your attention on her in an exquisite way, it doesn't matter really what you do or what you look like, or they'll just start to, they're not used to men having their attention on them fully. That'll be confronting for them. And this isn't what the video is supposed to be about. The video is just, so Leanne Gluck, crap, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Leanne. I just want to thank her for asking this question. She said, she said, would you be willing to talk about how to do the framing? There's probably a whole video on there. Yeah, there's probably an hour or two or three or four on there. So I'll tell you how I do it, and I'll tell you some other suggestions about how to do it. But I learned a long time ago that, first of all, there's just, and this is, you can say this, let me back up. The truth is a turn on, as long as it's delivered in connection. And we'll talk about hearing the truth and telling the truth and what that means, because some people use it as a excuse to just be horrible to other people. That's not what we're talking about. The truth is like me sharing, like I did with Leanne. I was, gosh, I what do they call it? Facebook stalking. And I drilled down and all the different aspects of your personality there. You seem embodied, and I listed all these things that I acknowledged and noticed. But then I was like, actually, that's left her a second voice note saying, that wasn't the full truth. The full truth is I've got a bit of a crush on you now. Like the way you're brilliant, you're elegant, you're embodied, you're sexy, you're self-expressed, all the things. And I've never had that not be well received. Now you have to do it without, guys, you have to do it without looking for something. So my favorite approach with a woman is to walk up and acknowledge something about her. Like, wow, I love the way I actually had a 3-year girlfriend because I walked up to her and I said, the curve of your tricep, and she was a petite, 5'1", $110, but there's something about the curve of her tricep. I was like, God, she goes, thanks. I've been working on that, right? And suddenly I've got a date. And we were together for 4 years because I walked up and acknowledged something about her, but I wasn't trying to get her phone number or anything like that. It was just, it wasn't like an approach it was actually an authentic expression. So, compliments versus, anyway, compliments versus acknowledgements. So there was acknowledgements. But she said, would you do a video on just the framing alone around these initial agreements? Totally. So thank you. Everything's in the framing. In neurolinguistic programming, the field of NLP, we John Grinder likes to say, or has said, that an ounce of pre-framing is worth a pound of reframing. Meaning, if you tell them how to interpret what you're about to do, which some, in the sexual transformation communities could be called a safe port. But it's less of a permission getting thing or a are you okay thing, in having them not be jolted. It's more of a, just here's how you should think about what I'm about to do thing. Nicole Dayton and I have joked about how we don't trust how people perceive pretty much anything. So we would prefer to tell them how to interpret it that's accurate and valid and like that, because they rarely interpret it in an empowered way. So how do you pre-frame these really deep, fast questions, like in these weird agreements? So first of all, you could there's a couple ways to go in at it. You could say, you know what, I just don't have time for things that don't work, and I've found that, you know, here are some things that work, and give us the most freedom in play. Oh, okay. Would you be willing to agree to these things? And I have found that I never get a negative response to that. The most negative response I get to is like, well, yeah, isn't this common sense? Sure, but it's rarely explicitly agreed to. And here's the problem with that. The problem is, in the global marketplace of ideas and relationships, and nobody should know something. And have you ever had somebody say, here's another way to frame it. Have you ever had somebody say, you know, you should have known, blah, blah, blah? You go, how was I supposed to know that? That's not, what? Because most people are so myopic and so arrogant that they think that the way they view things is, you know, the one thing to view things, and it's the right way to view things, and they're projecting and enforcing their values onto you. None of that's really great. And so you just say, you know, hey, you know, would you be willing to? And they go, yeah, oh, okay, you know, that's fine. Yeah, I get it. It seems like common sense to you, but you'd be surprised. Common sense is pretty uncommon these days. So there's that way to approach it. The other is, you know, look, I don't have time to waste, and I've found that a lot of people waste a lot of times in these weird expectations, and so would you be willing to, like, here's some agreements I found, like foundational agreements. Usually people are relieved, well, women are usually relieved when you lay it out like this, in my experience, so far. The other thing, which I just find disarms people, say, you know, this might seem kind of weird, but do you mind if I, like, and if you say, you know, this might seem kind of weird, and they go, this is weird, you go, well, you know what, I did say it might seem kind of weird to you. The other thing, and again, telling the truth is very powerful. So if you just simply said, you know, I'm learning these new communication skills. Is it okay if I, you know, like, trying to learn how to do relationship better, trying to learn from my mistakes, whatever frame you want to use. But I have found that the truth is the most powerful frame. And a lot of people find that scary and vulnerable. But here's the thing about communication skills. They're physical skills. A lot of people don't understand that or accept it. And most leaders in personal development in that field, I want to keep saying we, but they have made the mistake of trying to sell you on like, we will transform your life in a day or a weekend, or well, that's not actually true. Your perspectives and your perception and your view of what's possible for you can be transformed in a very short period of time. But the communication skills and the embodiment of it, that takes integration, and integration takes practice. So I like to say that physical skills, really, communication skills are physical skills, which means they require practice, which means you might scrape a knee. You're going to fuck up. That's okay. If you know anything about entrepreneurs, all of them say fail, because you'll learn more from it, right? There's no such thing as failure. There's just feedback for course correction. It's your relationship, not the thing itself. So if you tell them how to relate to the questions, which is the essence of framing, then you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I like to do it in the most disarming way. Just like when somebody asks me what I do and they don't know me, I go, I put the sparkles in the sidewalks, and they go, oh, well, you don't seem like a guy who would work in concrete. Well, that's what they say here in Texas. In San Francisco, where I lived for 47 years, they said, oh, so you sell ecstasy? No, neither are true. But it's a useful distraction while I find out more, so I can frame the way what I do in a valid way that also suits their world views and their needs and desires. And there's all sorts of ways to frame it, whether it's saving time, or whether it's practicing communication skills, or whether it's, hey, I learned some things from my last relationship failure. And do you mind if I ask you a few questions just so I can avoid making the same mistakes again? which, you know, all of those things, by the way, are true in my own experience for myself. Because if I had asked those values and forms questions that I talked about in the last video of my wife, it would have saved me 4 years and a whole lot of heartache and a whole lot of other kinds of resources. I wouldn't trade it for anything, because as Jerry Candelera used to say, Jason, you go to the edge of experience and you come back and you report. So I make the mistakes so you don't have to. Oh man, so those are several ways to frame the questions. By the way, if somebody goes, gosh, you said they were going to be deep, but whoa. And I go, oh, I'm sorry. Should I pull? Do you want to talk about the weather for a bit? And they go, no. I'm like, are you sure? I mean, gosh, what is the humidity outside right now? Oh my God. Oh, let me go make sure I got the right hairspray in my trunk or something. Man, everybody wants depth and intimacy. That's the thing. And there's a big difference between chemistry and attraction and intimacy, and I'll tell you what the difference is. And chemistry is, I want to fuck you. Intimacy is, would you be on my emergency contact list? I thought of that this morning. Anyway, thank you, Leanne. More to come. And by the way, this is just an open invitation. Any questions you have about, we're up to 24 videos now. Any questions you have about any of them, and I'll be posting a playlist relatively soon. Jamal's working on it. Yeah, man. The cat's out of the bag. I'm guiding people in relationships now, especially with the upcoming wedding. I don't think I can deny it after that. Ooh. That's a teaser trailer thingy.